Okay, back. So I wanted to talk about the sentencing gap, the gender sentencing gap. The gender sentencing gap is it's actually pretty significant, especially when you break it down, to race specifically. But when it comes to crime, an African American male will get a sentence 19% harsher for the same crime that a white man were to commit. But a black woman would receive a sentence 30, I believe, what does it say? Yeah, 33% less harsh than a white man, which means that, I mean, that means that 50, that means that black women have a 50% less harsh sentences than black men, which means that black black women compared to black men get favored in court. Why is that a big deal? Because if that's the case in criminal court, then why wouldn't that favor transfer over to family court? That's why it's important. If they get biased in criminal court, then why wouldn't that bias translate over? They give women custody for the same reason why they give them lighter sentencing. Because the same misogynist system that allows men to be powerful also believes that it's the woman's role to take care of a child. So the same misogyny that the modern woman complains about is the very thing that keeps her out of jail and gets her the custody, which gets her the free income of child support. So this is one of those things where I wanted to look at the data because you have opinions and then you have the data. These things that you see on the screen are snips from the actual article. So there was another one where again with the pay gap, there are more women in the workforce than there are men, and right now women make, I believe, about the same amount of much money as men, which is actually an issue because it would be impossible. It how could it be possible for men and women to make equal amount of money if 1% of men control 90% of wealth? So if women make an equal amount to men, that means that the average man has been grotesquely out earned compared to the average woman because 1% of men control 90% of wealth. That's a whole nother disparity. That's the problem when we talk about wealth. We only talk about the total amount of wealth. We don't talk about the hours work in conjunction with money earned. And and the biggest myth of the pay gap that hasn't been debunked is the biggest problem is that child support isn't counted as income. If child support was counted as income, then the pay gap will be changed. Why is that significant? Because men can't deduct child support from their income, which makes it seem like they. So, yes, on paper, men earn more, but after you start deducting child support, yeah, we gross we make more, but net we don't. And then a lot of income that women get isn't even counted. So that's the thing. There are more women in the workforce. 1% of men control 90% of the wealth, and women burn out faster than men in the workforce. It's so weird because they burn out at the exact same time that their fertility window is shrunken. They burn out in their late 30s to mid 40s, and that's actually when men hit their financial peak. So the pay gap also can be contributed to at the very time women burn out is the time that men actually care less about like pleasing women and chasing women, and we dial in on our business. So those things could be, I don't know, those things could be examined. But again, the analysis of the gender pay gap and things like that is kept at such a remedial, elementary level that true scholar and scholastic debate can't be had. The issue that I find as an educated man is that when you spend time with the research and you analyze and you comb the data, and when you talk to other people that you know are degreed. I won't say educated, because I started to notice that people are specialized in one thing and can't look outside of that. So people become micro-minded to where they only can focus on one thing. And if you introduce a new variable that challenges their reality or their paradigm, then the only thing they could do is disprove it because it doesn't fit in the paradigm. But the data doesn't lie. And no matter which way the data swings, truth is what we seek. So, another issue that we see in the community and that we see a myth about the pay gap is that this debt. People don't, and there are a lot of people that are actually poor that don't know they're poor because they think that wealth, or they think that the value is based off how much money that you earn per hour. Wealthy people don't value themselves based off of how much money they make per hour. A lot of them don't make money per hour. They make money off of dividends and residuals and other royalties and things like that. So typically a wealthy person um typically a wealthy person measures their income by subtracting their annual income minus their assets, and then that's their actual wealth. What you'll find is the most common mistake of poor people who become high paid poor people is that they'll get a job, let's say, where they make maybe $100,000 a year, but then they'll have $90,000 of debt and expenses. So technically, if you earn $100,000 and you have if you have $90,000 of debt, your actual only wealth is $10,000. $10,000. So in a dating market, what does that mean? What does that mean in the dating market? That means a lot in the dating market. Why does that mean a lot in the dating market? Because a person that makes $100,000 but has $90,000 in expenses that only is worth $10,000 will look down on a man that makes $30,000 that has no assets, or has no liabilities or expenses. That man is worth 30. He can make 30,000 and be worth 30,000. She can make 100,000 and be worth 10,000. Not value, but based off of her wealth scenario. And men that have money, we make decisions based off of those numbers. We make because we are gonna look at a person that's financially savvy. If he's looking at a person, a woman he wants to wife, he wants to take her on as a part of him. He wants to make her life his life and his life her life. So he wants to see what her expenses are. Is her expenses something that I can help manage? If she has access to my funds and she's living at a deficit, then how long before we're living at a deficit? You see, that's how men think. So this income to debt ratio specifically right here was important for the dating market because women, specifically, I'm a black man, specifically black women have a different income to debt ratio than black men. Black women have a 76% um, income to debt ratio, which means that for every dollar that a black woman earns, she only keeps 24 cents, excuse me. And black men have a 51% income to debt ratio. So we hold on to not that much. That's actually still not that good, but that's still like more. Like we hold on to almost about 50%, and women hold on to about 25%, which means that black women spends about twice as much. So what does that mean? What's the big picture of that? If black women spend twice as much or have twice as much amount of debt as a black man, then he can make $50,000 and still have as much money as a woman who makes $100,000. Or let's do it a little bit. Let's go deeper. Let's go beyond the 50 and 100 model. What if he makes 60,000, has no debt, and has assets, no liabilities? What if she makes $100,000 and she has $120 worth of liabilities? He's worth more. You can make less than your partner and still be worth more because you have less assets and liabilities. That's the issue in the black community, that because our understanding of finances is at such an elementary level, we overvalue what we make per hour versus what we take home and what our actual spending habits are. So that's why being educated about economics is super important, especially if you have children and you have children that want to be married. You have to understand, to be a partner, you have to be practical. A person doesn't want something that's gonna, possibly be another bill or an expense. And then why am I saying that? Because according to a Harvard study, women make 90% of the decision making when it comes to most things. Only thing they don't really make the lion's share of, or close to the lion's share, is the automobile. But I mean, close to everything overall, on average, it's almost 90% of it with most things. So um, I'm gonna end with this. If you look here at this Harvard study, it says that America, we have the biggest spending economy. So there's 5.9, trillion dollars spent in, consumer goods. But out of that, women have spent the lion's share of that. They've spent 4.3 of the 5.9 trillion. That's more than 8 countries combined. So that means that women that have the most privilege in the world have the loudest voice